Hey, Be'ezus Hashem, today's daf is Masechta Sanhedrin Daf Ayin Hey 75, and we're going to begin from the top, second line of the Gemara. Second line of Daf Ayin Hey on the top here. Okay. Um, okay. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Gemara begins Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Very interesting Gemara. Masa ba'odam echad. There was a story about this one person, a psaka bezdin. Shenosan eina beisha achas. He put his eye into one woman. He got lovesick with one woman, v'heleli baitina, and his heart became, I guess, depressed, and you couldn't talk to him. He was really, really very sick, maybe suicidal. Okay, so what do you do with such a person? Sick. Now, the Gemara previously is discussing that for Gili Arayas, for Znus, you have to give up your life. So first, Ubo Rushal Roifim, they asked the doctors, what do we do about this person? He's suicidal. Vamru, and they said, Ein loy tekana ad shetibah. There's no way to heal him until he has relations with this woman. So now you have a Gili Arayas. Omer Chachamim, the Chachamim said, Yamus, let him die. Va'al tiboiloi, and let him not have relations with this lady. Let us assume the way the Gemara is going to learn soon, but according to one opinion, this lady was already married to somebody else. So of course, she wouldn't be able to have znus as an ashes ish with this guy who is lovesick over her. So let him die. So then they the doctor suggested, Tamoid lefonav aruma. They asked if it would be okay if this woman stand in front of him without clothing. Okay, maybe that will heal him and get him off his depression. So the Chachamim said, Yamos, let him die, Baal Tamar the of Aruma, and let her not stand in front of him without clothing. So okay, if she can't stand like that, to Saper Imam Agadol, can't she have a conversation with him behind the fence? In other words, let them schmooze and let them talk, have some conversation. And the Gemara said, Yamos, let him die. She shouldn't speak with him from behind the fence. So they really put this guy to the test, even though he's suicidal. Magili Arayas is totally awesome. You have to give up your life for that. And this is a real sickness. So, Pligi bar Rav Akiv bar Idi, Rav Shmuel bar Nachmeni. Rav Yaakov bar Idi and Rav Shmuel bar Nachmeni had an argument. What was the real story behind it? Chadama once said, Ashish is Haisa. This lady was a married woman. So it's very understandable that why she could not have relations with this guy, because she's already a married woman. Ashish is Bechenek. And the Chadama once says, Pnuya Haisa. She was not a married woman. She was unmarried Bas Yisrael. So the Gemara asks, according to the opinion that says she was a married woman, Shapir, everything makes perfect sense. Why the Chachamim did not allow him to have relations with her? Because she was an Eshishish, and as a married woman, you're not allowed to have relations with her. If she was an unmarried woman, my kulihai, what would be so wrong if he had relations with her? Not for marriage, but just have relations, sleep with her. Now, according to maybe she would be considered a Zaina, but it's not something that you have to give your life over. If the doctor said that he is so suicidal that if he doesn't get his way, he's going to die or kill himself, so why didn't Chachamim allow him to be mizana with her? So the Gemara says, Rav Papa Amar Mushum Pagam Mishpacha. Rav Papa said, because if she does nus with this guy, this brings shame to her entire family. And yes, she could forgive herself from doing znus, but she cannot be moichel on the shame that she's causing her family. And therefore, it's not in her domain to forgive that. And because of that, she was prohibited from sleeping with this guy. That's the Rav Papa's opinion. Rav Acha ben Rav Ika Amar, Rav Acha says, Kidei shelo yehu b'nais Yisrael perutzois bo'arayis. The reason why they didn't allow this to go through, that he should do znus with her, is because if you allow this to be done, then this will set a precedent for other daughters of Yisrael that want to get married. So what they're going to do is, dress unmodestly, and then they're going to sort of cause sicknesses basically to the men, and thereby forcing them to get married. So that was the reason of Rav Acha's opinion. That's why they didn't allow this, because this can lead to a breakdown in the holiness of the Jewish women, the Jewish girls. So the Gemara says, the linsava minsav. Here's the Gemara's bomb question. Okay, they didn't allow, the Chachamim did not allow this guy to have a one-night stand with this lady. And according to the opinion, she was an unmarried woman, so the Gemara gave two reasons why they didn't allow it. But why didn't they make him marry her? And presumably, if she's okay with it, that would solve his sickness. Why didn't they make her marry her? So the Gemara says a fascinating thing, that even if he would have married her, he wouldn't have been healed. In other words, he would have remained with his depression. Because loy misyas v'data, he would not settle his mind. Kid Rabbi Yitzchak, it's like what Rabbi Yitzchak said. Rabbi Yitzchak said, Yom Shechar of Beis Hamikdash, from the time of the destruction of the temple, nitla tam bia v'nitla oivre avera, that the taste of bia was given over to oivre avera. In other words, that the highlight, the enjoyment of bia was only for those that commit relations in sin. But a married man with a married woman, they don't have that kind of ecstasy. Shenema, because the pasuk says, "Ma'im genuvim," stolen waters, yimteku, blood sweet, v'lechem sesarim, and that's a reference to hidden bias, hidden relations between male and female. Yin will taste sweet. When it's not with your wife, then it's satisfying and more sweet. So having her marry him was not a choice, because the doctors or maybe the Chachamim felt that he would not be healed. So what's the only other way? To let him sleep with her, a one-night stand without marriage. And that's like a stolen waters. But according to Rav Papa, it's because of it would bring shame to her family. According to Rav Acha, is that if it sets a precedent to other people to violate and dress immodestly and bring immorality to the Jewish people. So now we go on to the ninth parak. Okay, here we go. The Eluhei Hanisrafin. We discuss people who are going to skila, who are going to be burned. So the pasuk, the Mishnah says, Haboal Isha Ubito. We're going to learn the way the Gemara is maskana going to learn. Because it's machlekes what this means, but basically it means you married a woman, the daughter, and you're now mezana with the mother of that woman, which is basically your mother-in-law. So if you mezana with your mother-in-law, you get sreifa. Where do you know that you get sreifa if you mezana with your mother-in-law? So I'm going to bring up on the screen a pasuk. You have to know this pasuk. The pasuk says, "V'ish, a man, asher yikach es isha." A man takes a woman, that's Ima and his mother, and her mother. Zimahi, this is Znus. Ve'esh yisrafu, you should burn them. Oisoi ve'eshen, him, because he's Mizana with his mother-in-law, ve'eshen, and both of them. Now, both of them is very strange. We're going to discuss that tomorrow. But ve'eshen, because why is it strange? Because you're allowed to marry your wife. It's just you're not allowed to have relations with your mother-in-law. But let's leave that for tomorrow. There shouldn't be business amongst you. So if you see somebody sleeping with his mother, the pasuk clearly says, "Bu'eish yisraifu." Okay, you get znus. Now the Gemara. Okay, so now and then there's bas ish kohen sezanza, a woman who's the daughter of a kohen. Let's say she got married and then she did znus. So she's a daughter of a kohen. She did znus. An eishes that does znus normally is chenek. If she came from a Kohen family, then she gets sreifa. So those are written in the Torah, sreifa. But yesh b'chalal, you could learn other things, other type of arayas, 6 other arayas where you would get sreifa. What are 6 other arayas you get sreifa? Isha ubita. In other words, you married a woman, and now you mizana with her daughter, bitoi, ubas benoi. Okay, Isha Obito. So if you marry a woman and now you have a stepdaughter, okay? So now you have a stepdaughter, woman and her daughter. They're coming to move into your house. So you're now allowed to be mizana with that daughter. That if that daughter will have another daughter, you're now allowed to be mizana. If she moved in with a stepson, you're now allowed to be mizana with that stepson. So that's written in the Torah. But the Torah doesn't tell you what misa you get. And because of a certain Gzeira Shava, we're going to learn that you get Sreifa. Where do you see it in the Pasuk? Let's just bring it up on the screen. The Pasuk says, the Ervas Isha Obito Loy Segala. You're not allowed to, if you marry a woman and her daughter, and you took a stepdaughter, you're not allowed to do znos with that daughter. As Baspana, or if that daughter is not a daughter, but it's a son, so the stepson's daughter, or your stepdaughter's daughter, Vesbaspita, like Sekalach Evosah, Sherehina, they're your relatives. Zimahi, you're doing znus. But the Torah didn't say, what do you get for that? Now you can see that you're going to learn Zima to the mother-in-law. Just like if you mizana with your mother-in-law, you get sreifa. So if you mizana with your stepdaughter, your step-granddaughters, you get sreifa. That's one thing. Now, Bas Ishtoi, the daughter of, Bas Bidoi, Bas Benoi, Bas Ishtoi, Bas Bito, Bas Benoi. Okay. So Isha Bito, Bas Bitoi, Bas Benoi. First of all, that's the stepdaughters. The second part of the mission is stepdaughters, and the first part of the mitzvah is Bito, your daughter. Bas Bito, your granddaughter, Bas Benoi, your granddaughter from your son. Okay, and then it's your step granddaughters. Now the Mishnah says chamoisa. You're not allowed to do znus with your mother-in-law. That already we know in the Chumash. The aim chamoisa. Now think about this. Imagine your mother-in-law's mother. Okay, your wife's grandmother. You're not allowed to do znus with her, and you get sreifa for that. The aim chamav and the mother of your father-in-law. So also you get sreifa. So even though it's not written in the Chumash, you get sreifa, but through various limudim, we're going to learn that you get sreifa for these things. Okay. The Mishnah said, the Gemara is just going to explain the first part of the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, Habo al isha bita. Haba al isha shanasa bita like tani. It doesn't say that you came on a woman that you married her daughter, which would be understood that it's referring to your mother-in-law. If you married her daughter, you're not allowed to marry you're not allowed to mizana with her mother. Ella, the Mishnah says, Haba al isha bita. You came on two women. One's a woman and one's her daughter. And you get punished for both. Michlal, the Travayi Lisura, that you get punished for both. So what is that? Umaninu, what could that possibly be? Chamoisai, the aim chamoisai. Maybe the beginning of the Mishnah is referring to not your mother-in-law. It's referring to your mother-in-law and your mother-in-law's mother. So you came on to a woman, which is your mother-in-law's mother, and your mother-in-law's daughter, which is your mother-in-law. Uktani, and the Mishnah says, Yesh b'chlal isha ubita, and you can now derive from that isha ubita you can learn other things from that. That just like the Torah said, your mother-in-law and your mother's mother-in-law, you get sreifa. You can learn other arayos, you get sreifa. Comes out the real Chumash says about your mother-in-law's mother, you get sreifa. Michlal de tervayus siva behedya, that it must be written in the Torah that for your mother-in-law's mother you get sreifa. Says the Gemara, Lahanach Midrash Asya. These, it doesn't really say it anywhere in the Torah. For your mother-in-law's mother you get sreifa. It's only learned from Sukkot. So ha nichala baya da amamashmois darshan ikabenayu masnisimani rabikivi. We're going to learn about this tomorrow, but according to Abaya, the only one that will say that the Chumash includes your mother-in-law's mother is Rabbi Akiva, because he learns the Eshen refers to your mother-in-law's mother. So Rabbi Akiva clearly has it from the Chumash that it says for your mother-in-law's mother, you get Sreifa. So the Mishnah would make sense according to Abaya's interpretation of the machlekes that we're going to learn tomorrow between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, that our Mishnah goes with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Ella l'Rava, according to Rava, the Amma chamois lachamisa yikabenai, the Eshen teaches you something else. Can you mizana with your mother-in-law after your wife died? That's the machlokes Reb Shmuel and Kiva. But nowhere does it say ein chamoisoi in the Torah. Masnisimani, who does our Mishnah go like? So Haba Elisha Bita means you came on to your mother-in-law's mother and your mother-in-law. That's what's written in the Torah. It doesn't say that in the Torah, according to anybody, according to Rava's opinion. There's no source. Rava says, Tni, you have to read the Mishnah, Abal Isha Shanasa Bit. You have to put in the word Shanasa. That's the key word here. That you marry her daughter, and now you're Mizana with a woman, with the woman, your wife's mother. That's what it's saying. You're only Mizana with one person. So according to Rabbiya, Abal Isha Bita means the mother and mother-in-law. So then, but the Mishnah repeated that again. Aim chamaisai. So why did Mishnah repeat chamaisai ve'aim chamaisai according to Abaya? La Abaya I dekabayel misnei aim chamav, since he wants to tell you a new chiddush, your father-in-law's mother. So therefore, it repeats. So that the Mishnah repeats chamaisai ve'aim chamaisai, your mother-in-law and your mother-in-law. Rava, according to Rava, that our Mishnah is not referring to Haba Elisha Bita, does not refer to your mother and your mother's mother-in-law. It's only referring to you're going to your mezana with your mother-in-law and you married a woman. So why does the Mishnah say chamaisa again? According to Rava, it seems to be extra. Chamaisa is already the first part of the Mishnah. It's not learned from a drasha. Since he wants to learn out that aim chame ve'aim chamaisa is similar to a mother-in-law. So therefore, Tananami Chamaisa, so Mishnah repeated itself. Okay. Now let us discuss the sources of everything. How do I know that if you're Mazana with your mother-in-law, you get Sreifa? So we saw the Psukim. The Tanah Banan, the Banan Torah. Isha Sheyikach is Isha Bes Ima. Mishnah said, the Pasuk says, if you marry a woman and then you take her mother, so you get Sreifa. I only know if you marry your mother-in-law, if you mizana with your mother-in-law, you get Sreifa. Bas Isha, Bas Bito, Bas Bana. But what about your step-daughters and your step-granddaughters? Menayin, how do I know you get Sreifa for that? Nemakam Zima v'nemalhan Zima. Ma'alahalan Bito, Bas Bito, Bas Bana. Just like Zima refers to daughter, stepdaughter, and step her son, your stepson's daughter, Afkan. So also Bito Bas Bito Bas Bana. So we see that the Zima that it says by your mother-in-law, this Zima, let's say, also can go on the Zima that it says by your stepdaughters. And just like the Zima by your mother-in-law, you get Sreifa. So the Zima by your stepdaughter-in-laws, by your stepdaughter's stepdaughter's daughter or your stepson's daughter, you also get Sreifa. Okay, that's the first thing that the Brisa learns. Now the Brisa is going to learn something, say a cryptic message, and we'll describe what these cryptic messages are. The Brisa continues. How do we know we make males like females? So just like it says Zima, just like further we make males like females, so also we make males like females. Very cryptic. How do we know we make the bottom like the top? Lamata kilmala, or nemakan zima, nemakalan zima, malahan lamata kilmala, avkan lamata lamala. Just like further on we make the bottom to the top, so also over here we'll make the bottom like the top. Ma'kan lamala kamata, just like we make the top to the bottom. Avlahan lamala kamata, we make the top to the bottom. This is cryptic, and we can explain it in a moment. So first, the Brisa, the Gemara attempts to explain the first part of the Brisa. So again, I'm going to pull it up on the screen over here. We're trying to explain the second part of this Brisa. How do you know you make males like females? So the Gemara is going to say one pshat is, how do you know? Maybe it means, how do you know that you make your stepson's daughter like your stepdaughter's daughter? That's what we're trying to learn out. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? How do I know? They're both written in the pasuk. That's what if you look at the pasuk says, Ervas Isha Bita, Loisagala, as Bas Bena, as Bas Bita, your stepdaughter's daughter and your stepson's daughter. So what? So of course, male is like female. So the second understanding of what Zecharim Kinekevus means, it means Aim Chamav Ke'aim Chamoisai. How do you know your father-in-law's mother is like your mother-in-law's mother? So the Gemara says that cannot be what Zecharim is Kinekevus. We're making your father-in-law, which is the male, like your mother-in-law. Just like your mother-in-law's mother is usher, so your father-in-law's mother is usher. How do you know that? So that's what the Bryce is trying to teach you. So the Gemara says that cannot be because the Mishnah, the Brisa didn't tell us anything about your mother-in-law's mother being usher, that now the Brisa is on to the father-in-law's mother. Doesn't the steps of the Brisa don't make sense. So the Gemara is going to say, Abaya has an expression. It's how do you know that your stepdaughter, that means if the she'er haba mimenu, your relative that comes from you, in other words, if a father didn't marry a woman, but he was mizana with a woman. Okay, he raped a woman, and they had a daughter, and that daughter had another daughter. How do you know he's not allowed to have relations with that daughter? So we compare it to his stepdaughter. That just like his stepdaughter comes from his wife's side and is usher and it gets reifa, so also a daughter from a rape, which comes from his relative, it's his doing, will also get will also get would also get sreifa. So the Gemara asks the question, what's the Gzeir Shava? Because when he does rape, it says the word Zima, it doesn't say Zima. So the Gemara says, no, it says Heina, and Heina, Zima, Zima. We're going to make it as if it said the word Zima by Bitoy Ma'anusasai. Let's just see that. Why? Because if you look at the Psukim, Ervas, there's another pasuk which we didn't discuss. Ervas bas bincha bas bitcha l'segala ervas chaki ervas kahina. The Torah tells us, doesn't tell you what, but you're not allowed to be mizana with your daughter that you raped, or your granddaughter from a daughter that happened because of a rape of a nusa, and the Torah calls it heina. So since the Torah used the word heina, it's as if it said the word zima, because by your stepdaughters it says heina and zima. So we'll put the word Zima right over here by Anusa. Once Zima is written by Anusa, then we can go compare it to your mother-in-law, and you will get Sreifa. So that's the Gemara in a nutshell. Let's just read it quickly. We're making your stepdaughter's, your stepson's daughter like your stepdaughter's daughter. They both written in the pasuk that it's aser. Ella aim chamev came chamoisoi. Or maybe the pasuk means that your father-in-law's mother should be like your mother-in-law's mother. But hashta aim chamoisoi come along aim chamev beheder Allah. The Brisa didn't discuss the idea of your mother-in-law's mother-in-law. So start bringing in your father-in-law's mother. The Brisa didn't discuss that. Elmer, we go to Abba Beis, Abba Abaya. Abaya said, Hachikama, this is what it means to say. How do you know that when a man is ma'anis, he rapes a woman and has a daughter, and that daughter has another daughter, or that son has another daughter, he's not going to be mizana with them, and that if he does, he's going to get sreifa. Nemakan zima, because it says by the anusa you get the word zima, neham zima, but it says by your mother-in-law zima. So therefore, just like by mother-in-law gets sreifa, so also by bitoy manun sasa you're going to get sreifa. Says the Gemara, but when it doesn't say the word zima, it just says the word heina by she'er didei. It says by anusa you only the word heina. Amarava Amalei Rabbi Yitzchak Bavdini Asya heina heina Asya zima zima. First I learned heina heina to your stepdaughter, and there it says the word zima. So we bring the word zima over to your bita ma'anu sasai, and then once it says the word zima by bita anu sasai, then I learned zima to mother-in-law as if just like by mother-in-law you get sreifa, so also by bita your bita anu sasai you also get sreifa. Another minute and we'll stop. Then the Gemara is going to say one last thing to explain this part of the brisa. Manai lasas mata klamala nemakam zima laham zima. So the Gemara is going to explain that part of the brisa. First, is going to say the second part of the brisa is Maybe lamata kalamata kalamala, that we're going to say that your bas bana, bas bita is kibita. Your stepdaughter, your step granddaughters should be like your stepdaughter. So that's all written in one pasuk. So why should I make lamata kalamala? They're all the same. So maybe the other parishes, aim chama aim chamaise. We're saying just like your usher on your mother-in-law. So we take it lamala, that you also usher to your father-in-law's mother or your mother-in-law's mother. But that's not lamata kilamala. You're going kilamala to lamata, because the real chumash says that chamoise is usher, and you're trying to say if you go another further generation up, it should be like your mother-in-law. So then the Gemara says what Abaya said. Shloisha Adar. So we'll leave Abaya and Ravashi for tomorrow, but let's just see it inside. The Gemara just says, Amar, we learned before, another half a minute, Manayin Lasas Mata Kilamala. How do we know that we make the lower generations like the above generations? My Lamata Kilamala, Ilem Bas Bita Kibita. Are we saying that your stepdaughter's daughter and your stepson's daughter is like Mizana with your stepdaughter? They're all written in one pasuk, so I don't need a limit for that. Ella, we're trying to make your mother-in-law's mother and your father-in-law's mother like as if you're Mizana with your mother-in-law and you both get sreifa. Hi lamata kilamala. You're learning the bottom from the top. Lamala kilamata have. You're learning from the top to the bottom. You're learning aim chamoisay and aim chamav to chamoisay, which is going from top to bottom. Okay, so to me, change the brice around lamala kalamata. So then the Gemara says, the Gemara just leaves it above. But we're going to stop by Abaya. Ihochi nema kamzima lehamzima mahashti inu like siva zima dihu ksiva. It doesn't say. The Gemara says nema kanzima, but nema lahalan zima. It doesn't say anything about aim chamav, the aim chamoisa, aim chamav, aim chamoisa, the word zima, that you're going to learn it out from your mother-in-law. So what's going on over here? And we'll explain it Abaya tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem. So we'll stop right over here.
Sure. Thank you.